Let me turn this on. We're going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. We had a session earlier this morning, so we are in recess, and now we are coming out of recess to start our open session for the afternoon. Today is Wednesday, March 6, 2024, 1 p.m. Chairman Ecker, as you can tell, I am not Chairman Ecker. He is not with. He does have hair. He is not with us today, so I will be leading the meeting today. Commission Secretary, please call roll. Here.
Here.
Awesome. Well, welcome everyone. Thank you for being here. As we move forward today, I have a friendly reminder to all that we are live streaming our open meeting for the public to view from their home or office. If you are speaking, please make sure you speak into the microphone and the microphone is on so viewers can hear what is being said. We're going to start our meeting this morning with a safety brief emphasis. Mike Todd, is Mike in the room? There he is. Mike Todd, District Safety and Health Manager, is going to share with us what we need to do in case of an emergency. The floor is yours, sir.
Appreciate it. Good afternoon, Commission. Good afternoon, Director McKenna. My name is Michael Todd. I'm the Training and Oversight Accountability Coordinator in our Emergency Management Safety Division. A few reminders: in the event of fire, Commission Director, Commission Secretary will exit the rear of the door of the room and out of the back conference room 101 Jefferson on the sidewalk on Jefferson Street. The audience will exit through the door to the lobby out of the back of the building entrance by the loading dock and will proceed to the sidewalk on Jefferson Street. Alternate exit is down the stairs and through the main entrance. Please walk up the hill of Jefferson Street until everyone is safely out of the back parking lot and safe distance from the building emergency response vehicles. In case there's a small fire, there's a fire extinguisher in the rear of the corner of the room by the AV podium. I've asked Jessica Nolan back there to retrieve it and use it if needed. And then in the event of severe weather, which appreciate everybody's with the drill today, down through the stairs and on the bottom, as far away to the bottom as possible. And if we must evacuate this room, please take a moment, note who you're with, who you're sitting next to. Make sure upon arrival that you designate a safe location that you can account for the neighbor, and they have safely arrived as well. If there's a medical emergency, most people in this room hopefully are CPR certified. Lester Wood, I will have him call 911, direct emergency responders to our location. I have asked Becky Almaroth and Eric Schrader. They have volunteered to CPR and assist if need be. And there's an AED in the hallway on this floor, and Scott Kroontz will retrieve the AED in the event of medical emergency. And that's all I have complete. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Before we proceed with any business today, I want to recognize an anniversary that occurred on March the 1st this year. And he's already squirming in the front here, but our chief counsel, Rich Tiemeyer, he hit the 50-year mark on March the 1st. Outstanding. So thank you. Hey, would you mind if we take a picture?
Sure.
Okay.
I'm going to ask him if he minds.
Hey, if you've been here 50 years, you have to at least.
You hear what he said right now? He said you've been here a fifth of it. That's bad.
No respect. No respect.
Take a quick photo. There's a guy behind you.
All right, ready? One more. 1, 2, 3. Thank you, gentlemen.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Rich, I'm not done yet. So just a couple things to highlight what you've done for us as Missourians. Rich has vigilantly safeguarded Missouri's transportation revenues, ensuring adherence to the constitutional guidelines and facilitating the delivery of valuable transportation solutions for the citizens of Missouri. He has been the commission's watchdog for state road fund diversions most of his career. To date, he has counseled 50 members. So he has wrangled 50 members of this Highway Commission during that 50-year time period, which is incredible. Rich, thank you again for your hard work and dedication, and you've set the bar high for all of us for 50 years. So thank you, sir. Next, I need to review a few procedural items. Public comment period. I want to remind everyone that we have a public comment period and are pleased to offer this to every Missourian that wants to come before the commission to address an issue of concern. Any of you that would like to address the commission, please sign up before 1:30 p.m. A reminder that you will have 5 minutes for public comment or 10 minutes per subject. Abstentions. Next, I'll review our abstention process. There are commissioners that, because of land ownership or business interest, or lawyers may represent clients that have either some relationship to a matter coming before the commission and may have a potential or actual conflict of interest to be considered or voted upon. The commission member will indicate if he or she chooses to abstain from the voting or to recuse himself from participating in discussion of an agenda item. If an agenda item is divisible by contract, call, project, or like, a commissioner may specify that particular matter and then still vote on the remainder of the agenda items. This information is provided to the commission secretary by letter in advance of the meeting. The commission secretary will duly indicate the abstentions or recusals accordingly in the minutes of the meeting. Madam Secretary, have the necessary documents been put together? All right, thank you. First item on the agenda is consideration for minutes from the regular meeting on February 14th, 2024, and the special meeting on February 13th, 2024. Do we have any additions or corrections that need to be made in the minutes?
Mr. Chairman, I move adoption as presented.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Erdman, and a second by Commissioner Smith. All in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Minutes are approved. Item 2 is consideration of items on the consent agenda. Items removed from the consent agenda will be discussed later. Let's see. All items not removed from the consent agenda will be approved without discussion. Abstentions, we've went over that process. Does anyone need to remove any items for discussion or abstain from any item on the consent agenda?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Consent agenda is approved. We're going to move on to item 3, which is committee and board reports. I serve on the audit committee along with Chairman Ecker and Commissioner Slay. Today, Commissioner Slay will give the report.
There's no report today. The next audit committee meeting is in April.
Awesome. Thank you, Commissioner Slay. Chairman Ecker and I serve as co-chairs of the Legislative Committee, and I will give today's report since Chairman Ecker is not here. While some insiders in the Capitol believe the legislature is working way too slow this session, there are others who believe that House Speaker Dean Plocker and Senate Pro Temp Caleb Rowden appear quite content with the current movement of the legislative process. Specific to transportation, a majority of the focus this session has been in the House Transportation Accountability Committee. It has been in this committee where several problematic legislative proposals have been heard by the committee, which are aimed at the current constitutional authority and responsibility of the Highway Commission. One specific proposal could impact the Commission's current distribution of state road funds and significantly impact the statewide planning process. This constitutional change, if passed by the legislature and approved by Missouri voters, would require that the state road fund be subject to appropriation by the General Assembly rather than standing appropriated by the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission. While the proposal keeps the statewide transportation improvement program in place, available funding could be modified and even shifted from one expenditure to another. This constitutional measure is HJR 127. This measure is expected to be voted out of the House committee this week. March 12th is the date that has been set for the 2024 annual report to be presented by Director McKenna to the Joint Committee of Transportation Oversight. This annual report includes a copy of MoDOT's annual comprehensive financial report and MoDOT's 2023 annual report, which consists of the Citizen's Guide to Transportation Funding in Missouri, the financial snapshot, and MoDOT's results document. And if you have not looked at those documents, I would highly recommend that you look because it really gives you a great overview of the department. Finally, the annual week-long legislative spring break for the General Assembly begins on March the 18th. And that ends the legislative report. Moving on to the next report. Commissioner Smith serves as president of the MTFC, and Chairman Ecker and Commissioner Erdman are board members. Today, Commissioner Smith will provide the report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The MTFC met on February 21st, 2024. We didn't meet. We did it electronic, so I said that wrong. I'm sorry. But the board approved one loan totaling $639,999. The city of Sweet Springs for their share of a MoDOT project to construct a right turn lane on the on-ramp of southbound Route 127 onto westbound Interstate 70. Construct a right turn lane on the off-ramp from westbound 70 onto northbound Route 127 and lower the vertical curve on Route 127. So that is all I have. Their next meeting will be in May.
Thank you, Commissioner Smith. Commissioners Erdman, Hegeman, and I serve on the Emperor's Board. Today, Commissioner Erdman will provide the report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to welcome Commissioner Hegeman to the Emperor's Board. On February 16th, 2024, the board met here in Jefferson City. At that time, former MoDOT employee Sue Cox was elected chair, and a member of the Missouri Highway Patrol, Matt Morris, was elected vice chair. It is with deep regret and sadness that I report that this was the last meeting for Commissioner Greg Smith as a member of the Emperor's Board. I know we'll miss his expertise and insightful comment at the board meetings. This was also the last meeting for an important member of the Emperor's staff and the board secretary, Barb Gracel. The next board meeting is scheduled for April 19th. If needed otherwise, the board will not meet again until June 20th of 2024. The annual retirement system training is in July for the 2 days that follow our meeting at the Lake of the Ozarks in Camdenton. And this is part of the ongoing training that's required under Missouri statute. Mr. Chairman, that completes my report.
Thank you, Commissioner Erdman. The next report is the Missouri Coalition for Roadway Safety Executive Committee report, and today I will give that report. As of Thursday, February 29th, there have been 112 people killed in Missouri traffic crashes so far in 2024. This is a 6% increase compared to this time last year. As a reminder, overall traffic fatalities were down 6% from 2022 to 2023, a trend that we hope to continue to see into 2024. As we look forward to the spring session, MoDOT and the Missouri Coalition for Roadway Safety will be ramping up highway safety messaging, particularly in regard to work zones and Missouri's new hands-free law. Next month is also Distracted Driving Awareness Month. The coalition has been working with AAA and the Missouri Employers Mutual to host the second annual Buckle Up, Phone Down Business Showdown. This year's showdown will kick off on April the 1st with 75 Missouri businesses participating. A new component this year will be the safest driver competition using mobile telemetrics to see which organization has the safest drivers. This voluntary competition will reward safe drivers throughout the competition thanks to the generous support of AAA and MEM. This time of year also signals the start of motorcycle season for many in Missouri. With record number of motorcycle fatalities in 2023, the coalition wants to remind everyone who rides to make the smart choice to always wear a helmet. This concludes my report. Moving on to item 4 is MoDOT Director's Report. Director, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman, members of the commission. Thanks everybody for being here. I want to start off by adding just an additional fun fact to Rich's tenure here, because in that 50 years, 3.5 decades of that has been as chief counsel. So I think it's probably fair to say that it's unrivaled that anybody's had that senior level and all the pressures and considerations that come with that. He's been an extraordinary leader. In that time that he's been chief counsel, he has actually seen 10 of me come and go. So it's 3 chief engineers and all 7 directors that have been fortunate to be in this position. So the wisdom and the counsel and the guidance that we receive, particularly as we're looking at very substantial issues working their way through the courts and other matters of great importance here. I count on Rich every day and appreciate his service. I'm glad to be a part of his tenure, number 10. So thank you, Rich. The other thing I'd like to do is I just want to thank the department. I want to particularly thank our human resources department and our communications department for doing such a wonderful job last night with our leadership in action legacy dinner. Particularly Kim Larimore, Linda Horn. I want to thank Pam Harlan and Jennifer and Lisa who did a wonderful job. But I also want to acknowledge what it was that we did. This is a 6-year-old program now that is an employee recognition. It's a peer-to-peer recognition. We have different measures that we go, but it's essentially when people recognize the service of their peers in a way that expresses the MoDOT values of safety, service, and stability. And it's a eye of the beholder type passage. We record those events. We have numbered coins that are passed from person to person here, recognizing those. And we have, in our history, we've circulated approximately 500 coins. So they're limited edition, if you will. But when they've circulated 10 times, they're retired. And then memorialize those that have been recognized or memorialized on a plaque with that coin. And we've only to date retired 12 coins. So we have 488 in circulation. I'm sure there are a few that have maybe skipped on a waterway or something, but for the most part, they're in circulation. And it's very unique when somebody is recognized multiple times. And we have bronze award winners, people that have been recognized 3 times. Silver is 6 times and gold is 10. To date, we've only had 1 silver recognition, but last night we recognized 14 extraordinary employees for their service in the eyes of their peers, which I think is as high recognition as you can receive. And I'd just like to mention their names because it's truly an honor. There have only been 48 people in the history of this program that have received this level of recognition. And I think, for an organization over this 6-year period, there have probably been 8,500 people eligible. We obviously have an employee base under 5,000, but we've had a lot of turnover. So There have been 8,500 approximately eligible, and only 48 have been recognized to this level. Lori Greer, Ryan Libert, Nicholas Schaffner, Jeffrey Schmidt, Aaron Martin, Amy Hampton, Stacy Kaiser, Christy Evers, Michelle Frazier, Christopher Medley, Eddie Watkins, and I noticed today Eddie passed on his coin already to somebody else. I got notice of that, so great job, Eddie. Robin McKee, Matthew Sonner, and Jennifer Wade. All just the best of what we can hope for in employees, and I really appreciate the thought, the time, the effort that went into gathering all the information to continuing this program. Under Lester's stewardship as well as Chief Administrative Officer. I thought it was a wonderful event, and I just want to thank everybody for their participation. For the meat of the agenda today, the thing I'd like to do initially is ask Becky Almaroth, our Chief Safety and Operations Officer, to come forward and introduce our newest member of the senior management team.
Thank you, Director. Commissioners, I'd like Darren Hamelink to come up and join me. As you recall, a couple of months ago, we brought Natalie Rourke and gave her a resolution for her years of service that she had with MoDOT and as her role as State Maintenance Director. So big shoes to fill, but we took a couple of months to go through the interview process, and I think we found a wonderful candidate. Darren Hamelink has been in the transportation industry for over 25 years. He started on the program delivery side of the house as a highway designer. He's also served as a district bridge engineer, area engineer, and most currently as the district maintenance engineer in the Southwest District. So I had the opportunity, usually when we choose a new member of SMT, we'll go to their current leadership to let them know that they have been chosen and that they really prepared somebody well for an SMT level position. And Stacy was meeting with her leadership team at the time and felt like I was stealing somebody's puppy away, but they looked very dejected. I'm like, take that as a compliment because you trained him up well and he's absolutely prepared for this position. So please join me in recognizing and welcoming Darren to his new position.
Hey, Becky, don't go away. All right. Congratulations and welcome. Thanks for taking on additional responsibilities and untold other duties as assigned that Becky will be throwing at you repeatedly, right? So we don't fully disclose all of those in advance of those positions, but really it's one of the most important things for this organization to succeed into the future, for good people to step up to additional responsibilities. So we really do appreciate you doing that. So I want to recognize Becky's leadership on our safety efforts. 2 weeks ago, Becky and MoDOT maintenance liaison, Paul Denkler,
Come on up.
Paul, come on up, represented MoDOT to receive the Safety Champion Excellence in Safety Award at the annual Geotab Connect Conference. Geotab's and we've got a photo here of the award. That looks kind of like red carpet almost, right?
It was.
yeah. Geotab's an international telematics company that provides connected vehicle solutions, vehicle and asset tracking to more than 50,000 clients in 160 countries. The Excellence in Safety Award recognizes a single organization that's leading the way in its use of connected vehicle technology to drive better outcomes for their business, employees, and community. The winner is selected by a panel of Geotab partners and industry members based on a scoring system for an organization's implementation, performance, and impact on driver and fleet safety. Over the past 2 years, we focused on our core value of safety with a focus on every employee working to keep themselves, their coworkers, and the public safe. We want everyone to go home safe to their families after every shift, every day, for their entire career. These efforts have seen a nearly 100% compliance in seatbelt usage and exceeding the speed limit in state vehicles, not exceeding the speed limit. We've also improved with recordable incidents, which are down 22%. Our employees are engaging in more safety observations, reporting near misses, and sharing good catches to prevent a safety issue. These areas have been increased in participation by nearly a third, 33%. This award recognizes the leadership of Becky and her team in maintenance and safety and emergency management. but more importantly, it's the result of the efforts of every employee in the department. This has been a significant challenge. I think I've reported to you before, as has Becky, when we first implemented this, and there's some degree of controversy associated with this. We had thousands of violations in the first 3 months when we recorded this, and we were a bit shocked at the results. But there's nothing like actual data to remind you how important these issues are. And with that level of noncompliance, frankly, I felt that our employees were on a roulette wheel for safety issues, and including the ultimate sacrifice of life. And as somebody that has knocked on the door of a family member of an employee that wasn't coming home, I can tell you this effort is the highest thing that we do. It's the most important work that we do. And that turnaround, for 3 months we monitored and we found fault with ourselves. And for the ensuing 3 months, we wiped it out. And Becky's leadership, Paul's leadership, your whole team, and the efforts we heard of some of our folks out in the field last night that have been recognized by their peers that were big champions in this area as well. This is one of the most impressive turnarounds in safety that any organization of this size or smaller has gone through, and to be recognized by a company with 50,000 clients as the #1 client in globally for their individual safety award is quite a recognition. And I want to see if I can lug this thing over to you, because I understand it's about 30 pounds.
I do want to say, I know we had talked at the leadership dinner last night. We have one of our GeoTab administrators that was there. It was really easy for myself and the director to make that decision that we were going to start looking at those and trying to drive down those risks within the organizations, and really helping remind employees, if you know you need to put your seatbelt on and it's going to beep at you if you don't, maybe that's that reminder, that first reminder of the day that I'm going to do and really keep an eye on safety for the entire day. But it was very easy for us to do that. Paul did a lot of the legwork of developing policies and getting the ordering of the devices to be put in, but those GeoTab administrators out in the districts, this became a full-time job for them for months, getting those devices installed into the vehicles. And then they were the ones that were really spreading and the champions of the message as to why we were doing this. And then looking at every exception, making sure we weren't falsely accusing any employees, finding out just the causation of some of to drive down that risk. So really want to thank those 7 GeoTab administrators, 8 if you include central office. They really are the ones that deserve this award and did all the hard work. So we'll definitely be sharing that award with them. Thank you.
Nice job. You know, along that same line with safety, Missouri's Buckle Up, Phone Down campaign continues to be shared and promoted at the national level. At the February 21st U.S. Department of Transportation's National Roadway Safety Strategy News Conference, the Buckle Up, Phone Down program was held up as a best practice. The American Association of State Highway and Transportation Officials Executive Director, Jim Timon, is featured in this clip from the event. And I'll note that he was wearing a Buckle Up, Phone Down pin that day as well. So this was in Washington. And you got a preview of the next clip.
We need to do everything in our power to reduce that number of fatalities to zero. Unfortunately, over the last 6 or 7 years, we've seen that number turn the other direction. And as a result, AASHTO and two of our members, the Missouri Department of Transportation and the Washington State Department of Transportation, were among the first to respond to the Secretary's call to action, signing as allies in action for the National Roadway Safety Strategy 2 years ago. A little bit about both of those states. Patrick McKenna, who is the Secretary of the Missouri Department of Transportation and a past AASHTO president, when he was president, he focused on safety during his year as AASHTO president as his area of emphasis, encouraging his colleagues to take action to improve safety on our nation's roadways. I'm wearing a pin today from an initiative that he started, Buckle Up, Phones Down, in order to encourage people and organizations to adopt policies where they put their phones down while they're driving and make sure that they're buckling up their seatbelts every time that they get in the car.
So MoDOT was also recognized for a new tool for safety design called the Safety Assessment for Every Roadway, or SAFER. It's a questionnaire that aims to move toward proactively lowering the risks of serious injuries and fatalities from traffic crashes by facilitating discussions about safety within every project's design. This is catching hold as well, and it's going to be a best practice. Last week, we held our annual meeting to connect with all the statewide regional planning partners. More than 130 people representing all 26 planning partner organizations attended. We discussed the ongoing STIP development process, which goes through this spring. We also shared updates to the overall Improve I-70 program and the new evaluation tool that I just mentioned, SAFER. Getting that spread to the planning partners as their planning projects is gonna really improve the thought process in design, and we're excited about it. An update was also given regarding the local programs, of which MoDOT serves as liaison to local governments to seek federal reimbursement for their transportation improvements on the local system. This annual planning partners meeting is key to our key part of our process, approved by the commission that involves project decision making at the local level. We look forward to bringing the draft STIP to your meeting in the early summer for your review. I want to thank our planning division director, Lance Taylor, and his entire team. They did a wonderful job. A very informative meeting, very well attended, and again, very engaged planning partners from around the state. So really appreciate that. The last thing I want to mention is I just want to acknowledge that we've had, not the last thing, second to last thing, sorry. I just wanted to get your attention. I saw you fading there, Commissioner Smith. But on Friday, February 16th, we had a weather forecast that anticipated to be a trace to a few inches of snow, and it turned a section of I-70 that received essentially thunder snow, came on very quickly in late afternoon, early evening. Got 3 inches in 1 hour and more than 6 inches overall. Numerous incidents, including several locations of jackknife semi-trucks, occurred on eastbound and westbound I-70 in Warren County. And despite MoDOT crews starting to work and treat the roads at 6 a.m. that Friday morning, the intensity created some extreme circumstances. I want to acknowledge and thank our partners at the Missouri State Highway Patrol for their work. They were out there the whole time as their crews coordinated to clear impacted segments of I-70, to work with the public that was affected. And unfortunately, many people spent far too long out there. We had indications of some, and I was on the phone with some of them until about 2 a.m. on Saturday morning. So we had a long duration in a very narrow window. We had to close the highway. This happens on occasion. Every time we have an extreme situation like this, though, we go in to after the fact to look at an after action review of our response to see if there are any lessons we can learn to continue to improve our process. And we've had opportunities to improve that coordination and communications We've outlined this in an issue brief that's in the commission backup today, but we wanted to make sure that, as we talk about national awards, as we talk about it, we always want to remember the core work that we do here in the state, the service that we provide. I'd say some people that were caught in that didn't appreciate that service that night. I think we've seen in the review that there wasn't a lot we could have done because of the circumstance, but we do know that there's some coordination at the local level and some communication that could have come out a little bit earlier to help deflect others from getting caught into that. And we're going to incorporate that into our future planning for events. And I appreciate the team's review, because it's it can be a hard thing to do, but it's important to be reflective when things do happen so that we constantly improve. The U.S. Route 169 downtown Kansas City, Missouri River Bridge, known as the Buck O'Neill Bridge, is progressing in the final year of its construction. All traffic has been moved over to the new bridge, and the first piece of the old Buck O'Neill Bridge has been removed. On February 15th, the most northern span of the bridge over the land was imploded, and we have a short summary video of that implosion to share.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Fire in the hole!
So more 2 years to build it and 20 seconds to get rid of it. Yeah, I know. It's funny how that works, isn't it? More sections of the old bridge will be imploded over the coming months. Overall, the $220 million project is on track for completion by the end of the year. Now, this is one of these projects that tells us we can do big things, and we are. Extraordinary effort there to coordinate those efforts to communicate to the public. That happened to be the day after the incident that occurred with the mass shooting in Kansas City. So there was a heightened awareness of that issue. But once you get to a certain stage, it's the only safe thing to do is to continue forward, which we did. Our team did a nice job, and the private contractors are expert in what they're doing, as you can see. That came down without incident, as expected. They're cleaning it up and continuing forward. Mr. Vice Chairman, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Director. Any discussion regarding Patrick's report?
No, Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to take this time to congratulate Darren Hamlick on his promotion. I've seen him rise in MoDOT over the last 10 and a half years, and I know you're going to do a great job. Becky, make sure you get him a new name tag, please. Okay. And Becky, thank you to you and your team on being recognized for the champion in safety. That's quite an honor. We appreciate you all doing that and working so hard on it. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you. Patrick, thank you for your report. The next item on the agenda is an action item. Kenny Voss, State Design Engineer, will present bids for our consideration. Kenny, floor is yours.
All right. Thank you, Vice Chairman Boatwright and fellow commissioners and Director McKenna. We're presenting bids today for the February 16th bid opening. MoDOT received 99 bids on 31 calls. We recommend the following to you today: to award all calls to the lowest responsive bidder.
Thank you, Kenny. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Patrick, do you have anything you want to mention on this? Okay.
The one thing I'd say is it's great to see the competition that we're getting. It's picked up, and we've seen prices stabilize.
Yes.
Over the last several months, Kenny mentioned in a report earlier that we have a couple new bidders that we haven't seen of late, and it's always good to welcome new contractors in to our territory to do the work. So this is just evidence that we're kind of really have come out of that kind of tough time that we're in for the last couple of years, and the hard work of the team. And bringing forward these bids, it's tough to do at the level that we're doing it with the staff that is lower than what it was when we had about half of this work. So outstanding job by Kenny and his team. Thank you.
Yeah, it's exciting to see so many bidders. It really is. Mr. Chairman, I am moved that we approve the bids.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. The bid recommendations are approved. Kenny, do you have a budget update?
Yes, I do. Today's awards are for a total of $40.4 million, which is $1.3 million under budget. Also, today's awards result in the state fiscal year 2024 awards to date of $1.41 billion, which is a cost of 1.5% or $20.5 million over budget on $1.39 billion worth of work. I just kind of want to add to that to say that, we're kind of reporting this at the end of getting a project to construction, but it takes many years to get a lot of these projects to this point. And our district staff, our division staff spend a lot of time on these projects. And as that program increases, it gets more and more challenging, but they keep on stepping up to the plate. And I'm really appreciative of the effort that they do to get these projects to this point.
The example that was given earlier today was an infinity wheel. And, new things just keep getting thrown in and going through the process. And it's an art, and I commend you and your staff for what you're doing, because it's a big workload to get these out and to get bidders.
Yes.
And it is, Patrick, to echo your comments, there has definitely been a change with the number of bidders and the bids that we're seeing, and it's exciting. It really is exciting. So, Kenny, thank you again. Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And this is the last. So with these awards, this will be the last of the rural route, governor's rural route programs that we have, projects that we have for this program year. So exciting accomplishment to this point. So
Yeah, no doubt. And those end dates are November. Yeah. Great.
And the only reason we still had any contracts available is because the pricing of the original 36 came in below our estimates. So
Which
we're
is
able to get
exciting.
another
That's exciting.
150 miles of new pavement for citizens of Missouri.
That's certainly that's a good issue to have that we didn't think we would have 18 months ago. So
when I think that, based on conversations earlier today, this is part of that asset management plan that's going to
Yes.
help with that, with those lower volume routes that we have out there to get those numbers up to a higher level. So
for sure.
appreciate the investment from the legislature and the governor.
You bet. Thank you, Kenny. Appreciate it. Moving on to the next agenda item. It's a non-action item. Ms. Andrea Hendricks, Equal Opportunity and Diversity Director, is reporting on the division she leads. Andrea?
Yes. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Vice Chair, Commissioner, and Mr. McKenna. It is a pleasure to be before you once again. This presentation, hold on, I'm not going to do this again. Okay, this presentation will provide you with a brief overview of the responsibilities and accomplishments of the Equal Opportunity and Diversity Division. But before I get started, I just would like to add that the Equal Opportunity and the Diversity Division is committed to fostering an embracive environment for all of our organization, all of our employees within the organization. We not only believe in recruiting great candidates, but we also want to retain them. We want to ensure that their environment and experience is beneficial for both their personal and professional needs. So You were able to meet the team at our lunch today, so here is our team. Our role here at the Equal Opportunity and Diversity Division, we are thoughtful leaders that provide valuable resources, awareness programs, and tools that educate the employees. And we also demonstrate the importance of diversity, equity, and inclusion in the workplace. Our focus areas are accountability and compliance measures, workplace culture, which aids in our retention efforts. And then we also have our workforce pipeline development, which aids in our recruitment efforts. As mentioned, we have the accountability and compliance measures. Our affirmative action plans, they are completed per the federal government requirements, Executive Order 11246. And then we have the statewide diversity plan that's completed according to the governor's Executive Order 1024, Article 5. Then we also complete our statewide tracker, and then we also monitor our exit interviews. Now here you will see our census data that was collected based on the 2020 collection. And this is our statewide tracker. And this is one of the items that we track within our tracker. As you can see, the percent of minorities employed here is right at 9.7%. However, the availability for hire is at 14.31%. And then our percent for women, we have exceeded that. Our goal was actually 16.61%, but we're actually at 18.49%. Our division tracker through March of 2023, our exit interviews, it's always good to see why our employees are leaving and what their thoughts are. But 75% believe that MoDOT leaders are committed to improving our workforce and diversity. 75% believe that the organization is dedicated to diversity and inclusion, and 80% are satisfied with the department. The number one reason, as many of us already know, is that many are leaving for better pay. Our workplace culture. The Equal Opportunity and Diversity Division, we do a lot to try to get the employees engaged because we know that if they have a place of engagement, they're more likely to stick around. So some of the things that we do, we offer diversity education events. Some of our most recent events were psychological safety. And then the other one was thriving in a multi-generational organization. We have 2 employee resource groups that we mentioned earlier in our luncheon, helping young professionals engage, which is known as HYPE. And then we also have our Veterans Engaging for Success, which is our VETS program. We also have a mentoring program because, again, having these pathway forward allows the employees to see what the opportunities they have, which makes them want to stick around for the better engagement and opportunities that are set for them. And then also we are doing the News You Can Use. We have just relaunched that program. Well, it's not a program, but it's highlights of things that are happening that will be resourceful to the organization as well as our employees. Okay, yes. And then we have our workforce pipeline that we mentioned earlier for our recruitment efforts. This year we have an last year we had our intern conference and we had about 82 attendees. This year, I think it will be held June 25th through the 27th here in Jefferson City. And then we also have our youth transportation conference, which was scheduled for July 10th through the 13th. Last year, you guys mentioned this at the luncheon, we had a Bring a Child to Work Day, and we had about 112 children and about 86 employees that participated. And then we have our jobs for our JAG programs. And then we also have just recently adopted Job Corp, which we're working with them out of the St. Louis office. And then we also have our college employee training program, and that's called our CET program. And that's still under development. Right now, I hope I have this right, but we have about 350 positions that we're trying to fill. And out of the 350, we're trying to hire 5% of those as CET employees. So really giving the students the opportunity to work in the workforce while going to school. We do a lot of partnership program with our Human Resources division. To date, and these numbers are subject to changing quite frequently. Our core workforce training, we've had 92 supervisors attend, as well as about 76 employees. And then we also work with the Maintenance Leadership Academy. As far as investigations are concerned, I also work with the audits and investigations in the event that there's a grievance or complaint that may cause a conflict of interest. That's where I step in to do the investigations on the behalf of the audits and investigations. I also serve as the Employee Advisory Council. I think you guys remember me from a couple of weeks ago. And then I also serve on the Governor's Council on Disability and the Governor's Council for Workforce and Diversity. I think that concludes what I have prepared. Are there any questions that you all may have for me?
I'd like to just make a comment.
Yes.
We had the opportunity and pleasure to have lunch this afternoon together with some people with your team, and I will say that I was very impressed with your professionalism as a team and
Awesome.
commitment to the mission of this organization. And thank you for your work.
Very well.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Commissioner Erdman?
Yeah, I just want to echo what Commissioner Slate said. This is very important work, and it helps us retain good employees. We spent lunch talking about how it's much better to retain an employee than to recruit a replacement. And the work that's being done here not only gives people a sense of their worth in the workplace and the work environment that they're in, but it also gives them a reason to stick with us, and that's really important. I also want to mention and call out the work you're doing with Jobs for America's Graduate. Former Commissioner Brinkman was a big promoter of that. Your intern program and the work that does to develop candidates for new employment. And of course, last month we met with the Employee Advisory Council and heard many of the same things. And the overall takeaway is that while we can always get better, the work environment at MoDOT is good, nurturing, positive, and provides opportunity for many. And so our gratitude to you and your team for helping contribute to that.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, and really, just to echo both comments, really enjoyed lunch with your team today. So,
Fantastic.
yeah, appreciate the opportunity.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Next item on the agenda is a non-action item. Ms. Nicole Hood is going to provide us with information about access management. Ms. Nicole?
Good afternoon, Vice Chairman Boatwright, Commissioners, Director McKenna, Commission Secretary. Thank you for the opportunity to be here today. So I will be giving you a brief overview of access management here in Missouri. So the concept of access management has certainly evolved over the years, and I thought to put this in perspective, it would be helpful to have an illustration. So this is a photo from 1990, and it's the intersection of Route 50 and 65 in Sedalia, Missouri. And this was before we had access management guidelines. And what I was trying to highlight, which I know the picture is certainly dated, but what I'm highlighting is the red arrows. And so those red arrows, they represent entrances along Route 50 and 65 as you're approaching the intersection. So there's 22 different access points. So multiple entrances. If you could see closely, several of them are very wide, causes those situations where cars are cutting in front of each other. And so over time, we saw more congestion. And we also saw the situation where customers were just having issues being able to enter and exit into the businesses. So creating kind of an unsafe situation with some of the congestion. So fast forward, 2012, so a couple decades. We ended up having a construction project that came through this location in 2012. And we also had a development on the southeast quadrant. It was a Walgreens. And this allowed us to be able to come in we had access management guidelines in place. We were able to come in, we were able to consolidate some of the entrances, we were able to narrow them. So I'm going to click my clicker here, and you're going to see what happened after we were able to come in here and do our access management. So notice the red arrows as they're moving. So we went from 22 access points down to 9. So we had a 60% reduction in the access points, which is wonderful because it does improve the safety and improves the access flow and the traffic flow through that area. So why does MoDOT manage access? Well, first and foremost, it's to improve the safety. So we do have national research that has shown that you can have as much as a 50% reduction in crashes with access management. You can also decrease that travel time and the delay by as much as 40 to 60%. We can increase that roadway capacity. But in the end, what it's all about is you're trying to balance providing that access to properties with safety, with traffic flow. And we have to look at that overall roadway system whenever we're considering access management and not just, the individual property owner. So if you can have the good access management and the good engineering, then ultimately you can have a safe situation and you can be able to provide for that economic growth. So we put our new guidelines in place in 2005, and there were just several locations across the state where we were experiencing those similar situations to Sedalia. So as the communities grew, we were spending millions of dollars to go out there and make the needed improvements to mitigate the congestion concerns, some of the concerns with safety, some of the concerns with the traffic flow. And by implementing new guidelines, we were able to limit the risk to the commission from having to spend several million dollars to fix some of the problems. So the guidelines allowed us to be able to be proactive and set ourselves up for success instead of being reactive and having to go out there and address some of the problems. So that mindset of being preventive and being proactive really goes a long way with access management and getting those things addressed early on. What is access management? It's balancing the needs of through traffic with the needs of traffic entering and exiting the roadway. So you have to ensure that you're spacing the driveways and the intersections on the roadway appropriately. And you also need to manage those access points because those access points are what create conflict points. And a conflict point is where 2 or more vehicles have that potential for a crash. So I wanted to show you a little video here. I think that just helps illustrate the concept of conflict points.
You know those video games where you had to cross the road and the other car's paths kept crossing your path? Well, it isn't nearly as fun in real life. In real life, when vehicles' pathways cross, you get a conflict point. The more conflict points there are, the higher the likelihood of a crash. And it's more than just intersections. Whenever a vehicle turns left or pulls out of a parking lot or even anywhere it could drive across traffic, you have conflict points. And when the number of lanes increases, conflict points go up dramatically. On a busy road, drivers monitor conflict points from all directions. Too many conflict points make driving unpredictable and risky.
Did I hear you say you remember Frogger? Yeah. Some of us do. Okay, so when you have too many improperly located streets and driveways, that can overwhelm your drivers. And then too many vehicles entering and exiting the road can lead to those crashes. So every intersection, whether it's a private driveway, whether it's an intersection or an interchange, they all have the potential to be able to cause those conflicts with vehicles. So good access management practice is trying to separate those conflict points so that we can have good spacing and we can have allow for that better traffic flow. So we have to consider the spacing between the actual roadways, so the intersections, but also between the actual driveways. But we also have to take into consideration the corner clearance. So you can see there on the illustration, corner clearance, it's that distance between the roadway and that first private drive. So if we put that first private drive too close to a public roadway, then we can run into safety concerns and other operational issues. How does MoDOT manage access? Well, we purchase access rights and the needed right-of-way for future projects. One example right now, we're in the process of designing Route 63 in our central district, the area around Westphalia. So the designers are busy getting the design plans ready, but they're also busy getting the right-of-way plans ready. And then they will actually go out and talk to property owners, and they will have to purchase the access rights so we don't just have multiple entrances that are connecting to the new roadway. We also retrofit the existing roadways. The example of Sedalia would fit into that category. We work with our local governments to establish local access management plans. So we create new types of access using local roads. An example would be we can use a local road to be able to access maybe like a back road to get to the businesses instead of having several entrances on that main route. And we also manage access by issuing permits for new driveways. So this graphic here is showing you the different tiers of access control. And our access control is determined by the roadway function, the speed, and the traffic volume. And you can see there a higher order facility such as an interstate. It is intended to serve that greater role of mobility. So the interstates, we want to be able to move traffic. We want to get folks to their destinations in a timely manner. But you can see on the bottom there, the local streets, those types of facilities are designed so that they can provide access to our property owners. The different types of access that we have: no right of access, controlled, and normal. No right of access would be your most restricted tier, so your interstates. So you only have interchanges for those types of access, the most restricted. You do need to make sure that you space the interchanges appropriately so you can allow for that smooth and efficient traffic flow once again. And then we have controlled access. So this would be for your major routes like Route 54, Route 36. And this access is also limited, but so you may have interchanges, but you could have some side roads that connect into those major routes. And then the state right-of-way is purchased as limited access for controlled access. And then we have normal access. So this would be your aerial route, or I'm sorry, your arterial routes, suburban routes, so like your Missouri boulevards, Belt Highway, Highway 61, 291, and 72. So for this type of access, you have to consider your driveway spacing, your entrance density, your traffic volume, and your speed. And then we also have normal access on our low volume routes. So this would be your lettered routes, like your Route Bs, your Cs, and your Ds. For this type of access, you issue permits for the driveways. So you take into account your site distance evaluations. We have folks that go into the field and meet with property owners and oftentimes give recommendations for better locations to put accesses to be able to improve that site distance. So we do have several tools and strategies for managing access. So we've already talked about Sedalia, reducing that density of driveways, the driveway closure, consolidating them, relocating them. We manage the spacing of the intersections, try to spread out those conflict points so that we can minimize the potential for crashes. We limit the allowable movements, so we have right in, right outs. Once again, less conflict points. You don't have that opportunity for folks to have the left ins and the left outs. We have center and raised medians. Those allow us to minimize the cross traffic. We do innovative intersections such as roundabouts. And then we also have turn lanes. So the turn lanes can take those folks that are wanting to turn into the businesses out of that through lane and reduce those rear end crashes. So overall, I looked at last year and we did issue over 8,500 permits for the department, and 1,500 of those were actually driveway permits. So the driveway permits, those are the ones I mentioned where we do have the traffic engineering staff in the districts, the traffic specialists who go out in the field, they meet with the property owners and they do the site distance measurements. That could be for simple driveway permits, but we also have situations where and maybe a developer comes in and has an interchange that they want to put in. So they also have to work through that permit process. But we also have projects to improve access that go through the program. So they go through the statewide transportation improvement program. So examples of that would be, well, we talked about the Sedalia project, but it would also be Sunshine Street, which is a recent one that I'm sure that several of you are familiar with. We also have, for example, the J-turn there in the top right on this picture. That to me is a perfect example of access management because you're turning off that opportunity for cross traffic and you're minimizing the opportunity for crashes. So right now in Missouri, we have over 50 of these J-turns. Put our first one in 2007. And yeah, excellent example of access management in my mind for trying to get out there and improve safety and traffic flow. So with that, are there any questions?
Thank you for your work. Before I took this position, I didn't give this much thought. You know, you just take it for granted. These are the access and business points that these businesses have, and you just live with it. But since I've been on this board, I've learned a little bit about the challenges here, and I want to thank you and your team for what you're doing to help improve safety through addressing these access points, and also working with local communities, and I know you are, and on the economic aspect of what you're doing. I mean, it's got to be a challenge in that regard, but it's important work, and thank you for all you're doing to improve safety and decrease congestion on these areas and make it more safe environment for people who use the roads and those that are even in the area. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Slay. Yeah, go right ahead.
Yeah, thank you. This is more important than maybe you might first think. I'm thinking of the normal access category where you might find that along commercial routes in communities, a lot of businesses, that kind of thing. Probably where the friction can get the greatest because businesses want access and we're trying to safely separate access to create a safer corridor. And I know we've adopted guidance that provides guidance to the district engineers for what, when seeking a new point of access, guidance that would kind of tell them where and under what conditions new access could be permitted. And I believe, what year was that guidance adopted?
2005 was when we implemented our guidelines here at MoDOT.
2005, yeah. So since 2005, this guidance has been in place and has been pretty uniformly applied for new access applications.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So when you drive down one of these normal access rights of way in communities all across the state and you see all of these driveways, all of these access points that are just bunched together, I would assume most of them were pre-2005 guidance, were there before we had a chance to really think about this.
Yeah, you're correct. And you can even see that along some of our major highways. You'll see some situations where there's private entrances onto some of our major routes. And that was definitely before access management guidelines were in place.
Yeah, so you might think to yourself, how did so many, this isn't consistent with our guidance, and simple fact is it was there before the guidance was implemented in 2005.
You're exactly right.
But then as new applications come forward, the department tries to abide by the guidance so that going forward, we have some standard that can at least govern to some degree all the new applicants for permits. Have I got that understood?
Yes, you have that right on point. That's exactly right. Yep. And I mean, I think that even the situation in Sedalia just proves that there were so many entrances in that area and they were wide entrances. They were pretty much where the business owners wanted them. But yeah, when the guidelines came in place and we had the opportunity to come back through with a construction project and with a developer there with the Walgreens development, it allowed us to come in there and clean things up with the access management guidelines.
So one last area I'm interested on this, because the lion's share of the problem are those that were in place before 2005. Is there anything the department can do to encourage the guidance, the 2005 guidance, is there anything we can do to get private property owners who have a pre-2005 access, anything we can do to improve those corridors for those who aren't seeking a new access, but rather one that pre-existed the guidance?
Yeah, so what we do during the design phase, when we have projects that are in the program, we do talk to property owners to see if there's opportunities to be able to improve the access management. For example, even the SAFER document that Director McKenna was referencing earlier, that opportunity to look at safety for every project, those are some of the basic questions that we ask. Are there ways to consolidate entrances? Can we close entrances? Because we know that ultimately that is going to improve safety. We don't necessarily always have the opportunity to be able to move forward with some of the improvements we're suggesting, but we do take those opportunities to be able to do that.
Take what you can get.
Exactly, yes.
In the rail industry, we kind of are in the same situation. We like to consolidate railroad crossings, much as we're trying to consolidate access points. And to do that, railroads will frequently offer incentives to consolidate a crossing where they're too close together, move them to a single one. Same thing you're trying to do.
Same concept, yes.
Does the department have any kind of incentivization for a private property owner to consider such a consolidation?
That would be a good question for Ed. I don't think so, but no.
Yeah.
I mean, customers will come to they'll frequent their business more often if they know that they're going to have a safe situation to be able to enter and exit. So I think just in general, that mindset would help. But yeah, no actual monetary incentivization that I'm aware of.
My 27-year experience trying to consolidate railroad crossings is that incentives are about the only way you can get the property owner to listen. But apparently we don't have such a thing.
The beauty of private sector versus public. Incentives make the world go around, and they're almost devoid in the public space.
Yeah. Well, it's clearly in the public's interest for us to move toward the 2005 guidance to the extent we can. And we just have to recognize there are going to be a lot of places where pre-2005 access points are just there, and that's not a lot you can do about that. Thank you for your work in this area.
Yeah, thank you.
Nicole, one thing to add is, the commissioners that are up here, the two new ones may not have, I don't know that they've had the background on some of the projects that we've done in this category. But what we've learned is when we let these go on, like before the 2005 guidance, the areas that have developed and built and not followed any sort of standard, when we get ready to correct those areas, it is very expensive to do, extremely expensive. And not only that, it's very contentious. So, just looking at this big picture, having that guidance in place and moving forward really lessens that blow for the long term on having a big picture look of what we want to achieve as a state, what we want to achieve as a city, town, whatever the case may be. And as you pointed out, when it's safe and easy to have access to these places, when it's not confusing, when you don't have compounding intersection points or conflict points, it's a better experience for the general public. So, Director?
Yeah, just like to make 2 points. Number one, I mean, you can take a poor design on a project and have no problems with it until you add traffic.
Right.
And then if you add more traffic, all of the flaws really stand out. But in most of the cases that we're dealing with here as a state, and I think the question comes up frequently, well, how do we compare in this area to other states? Well, most other states don't participate in normal access in great number. I mean, in a lot of cases, they don't. Those are local roads. Right. So the choice was made here in Missouri to have statewide oversight and financial responsibility for what would what would function as local roads in a lot of other states. So we end up in these localized issues in a way that many other DOTs don't.
Do not.
But it's still, I think the end result for the public is a safer system when we're applying these standards. Although it doesn't make for pleasant days, and as Nicole mentioned, 30 of these a week are what this department is producing. So we're in these discussions at the local level all over the state 30 times a week on average.
Right. Nicole, the only question I have is, now that we have this standard in place, been in place since 2005, are there ways of us interacting with the communities, educating some of the up and coming places that are growing quickly? Is there a way for us to educate up front to address some of these things proactively rather than addressing them once there's a problem? And of course, the standard is certainly a great step in that direction. But is there anything else that we can be doing to, and that's not anything that you need to answer today, but that's a thought that I'd like to leave you with, and something that you and the team think about is how can we, within these communities that are growing, how can we figure out a way to educate and have their buy-in up front to address some of these things proactively rather than having to deal with it on the back end, which is never pleasant. So thank you.
Yes,
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, that moves us into our public comment period. Members of the public who did not schedule a presentation before the commission may speak to the commission on transportation-related issues by having signed in at the registration desk by 1:30 p.m. Comments will be limited to 5 minutes per person, 10 minutes per topic. Madam Secretary, did we have anybody sign up for public comment? No comments today. All right. Well, at the end of the commission meetings, typically we provide each commissioner the opportunity to share concerns, comments, to reflect on the meeting at hand. Today, we are going to start with Commissioner Slay.
Well, I can tell you that, I'll turn on maybe close to my microphone. Oh, there it is. Okay, I'm learning. So first of all, I just want to, I've only been on the board now just for a few months, and I've been meeting more and more of MoDOT personnel, the talented people that work for the organization. I'm learning more about what this organization does. You think you know a lot about it when you're running a major city like St. Louis. I worked with Ed. He was our district manager when I was mayor for a number of years. But having sit up here in this position and working with so many talented people within the organization, I'm learning a lot more about not only the tremendous talent and professionalism of the people of the organization, but I'm also learning a lot more about the work that we do as an organization, as a board, the importance of it, the safety component, and the economic component as well. So I just am very thankful for all the work that you all do, and I'm very honored to be part of this organization, and just want to thank you for all your work.
Thank you, Commissioner Slay. Let's see here. Commissioner Hageman.
I too appreciate learning as well what all goes on here. And I do appreciate the professionalism that we see, and really the commitment that we saw last night with some of the medal award winners last night. It's nice to see people engaged and being respected in that opportunity. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Hageman. Commissioner Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, I want to echo last night. That was very impressive to get those coin winners up there, and so many of them. This is my second or third one of those deals, and it's always good to do that. Rich, congratulations. I'll never mention it again. 50 years. I'm done. But Darren, again, congratulations, Becky, on your team. And all the presentations were good today, Andrea. And Nicole, I heard last night, I said, "Where's Nicole at?" She's with her grand dog babysitting last night. Is that right? So, anyway, we missed you last night, but thank you for that presentation today. It was good. And I'm very, very, very familiar with that intersection there at 65 and 50 where Walgreen, and that's a well improved deal. Pam, thank you and your team. Director McKenna, appreciate everything you do. And every one of you right here in this room is such an important part in all the work that each one of you do. It doesn't go unnoticed. So we're short one back there in the corner. Is that, were they all set, the engineers? Anyway.
That's the district engineer corner
that's
over there.
the team that drives the bus.
That's right.
Anyway, thank you, guys.
Commissioner Smith, thank you. Commissioner Erdman.
Yeah, I'm going to be brief here this afternoon. I always take this as an opportunity to kind of think about what my takeaways from the 2 days. And I think about last night, and frequently we talk about contracts and projects and financing and those things, all of which are important. But in the end, as last night illustrated, it's the people that make it happen. And if we didn't have the people, we wouldn't have the projects. And so I give thanks and gratitude for that. Beyond that, something that was discussed at lunch today, we do these lunches with employees, was the importance of employee retention. Rich Tamar may be the best example of employee retention ever. Maybe we should do an interview with him to see what retained him for so many years. But we did learn a lot about the importance of employee retention. And I know that's been a focus of the competitive compensation plan. As the vice chairman of this is an area I have a lot of interest in is making sure the board understands as best we can all of the governance and human resources and competitive compensation issues. Because in the end, we're doing $14 billion worth of projects over the next 5 years with essentially the same workforce we've had for a decade. I don't know of a greater model of efficiency, a greater illustration of efficiency than that fact. And so our gratitude to all the employees who are doing all this additional important work for the people of Missouri, doing it largely at below market pay, and how grateful we are that we are getting this additional measure of productivity out of each and every one of them.
Thank you, Commissioner Erdman. Yeah, just to echo those comments. I mean, 3.5 years of sitting in this seat as a commissioner, it blows my mind the level of competence and the professionalism that this group and the excitement that this entire team, it doesn't matter where you are within the state, how that's projected and how that's seen. And at the backside of that, you can see the benefit of it through the results, through the work that's being done. And it's incredible and an extremely exciting time to be a part of this organization. Want to mention the coffee with the commission this morning. We had legislators that came over, visited with us. In my 3.5 years on the commission, I think we're to a point with the legislature that we've got the best communication that we've had in a very long time, which I think is really fantastic. Being able to have a dialogue, go back and forth, talk about things that are important to the state, and for the legislature to have faith in the MoDOT team and the MoDOT process of getting work done is really a testament to our leadership in the state and to the opportunities that we're providing not only the folks today, but the folks tomorrow. So with that, I want to make note that our next meeting is scheduled for April the 3rd, 2024 here in Jefferson City. And with that, Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Meeting is adjourned.